Hi there and welcome to another Sonic Academy video with me, Phil Johnston. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Ableton Live 11 beta. Now we've just got this in our hands and we're just going to go through some of the new features and show you what it's all about. One of the best features that I've had a quick look at so far is the vocal comping, and for me this is an absolute game changer. I work on vocals all the time and this is just going to speed everything up massively, so let's check it out. Okay, so the first thing I want to look at is Ableton's new vocal comping feature, and this to me is an absolute game changer. It really speeds up the workflow and I'm just so happy with it. I think it really brings Ableton up to speed with a lot of other DAWs who've had this for quite a while, so I couldn't be happier with this. So I'm working on a track here and I'm going to be working on these verse vocals, and I'll just play it for you and you can hear what we're doing. I don't know where it is you go when you go under, but I shine a light for you. Then they say, just make a wish and it's all over. I'll shine a light for you. Okay, so we have got this track here, which I have recorded with loop record enabled. So I recorded the first half and the second half separately, looped it round, pressed record, and just did a few takes. And now enabled, and what we can do is right click and go show take lanes. And this shows us all the different takes that have looped round and it's captured. And we can solo each of the lanes and listen to each of our takes individually. And then what we can do, if we've got the pen tool selected, we can just grab whichever takes we want out of any of those lanes and build our vocal comp. And this to me is just so much fun. It just really saves so much time. You've no idea just how quickly this gets things done compared to the way it used to work. I don't know where it is you go when you go under, but I shine a light for you. Okay, and you can see then between each of the cuts we've got a crossfade just to smooth things out. And then when you're done, right click again and show take lanes, and there it is all bounced down nicely. Now the next thing we can do, which is also really cool, is we can link to tracks. So if we link these two tracks, and if I wanted to cut out the breaths, for example, instead of having to do it for each take, I can just do it on one now. So I could just get rid of that, and you can see that it's just doing it for both. And I've cropped in a bit close there because I'm going to show you how we can also manage fades. Previously, fades, you had to do them individually for each bit, but now we can go in and just do it on one track. I'll make these bigger. We can go in and look at that. That is so good. It used to drive me insane having to do it for each individual track. I don't know. We have another set of vocals over here. We can do the same thing again. So just select all these tracks. We can link tracks. And I don't want the start of this coming in, so we just want from here. It's so long, it's so long. Again, we can modify our fades just to where we need them. It's so long. I'm just not a fan of super breathy stuff, so just now, instead of having to do it for every single track, I just do it for this top one. And it sorts all the ones below out. And the fall, is so far. I'll even take it back to there maybe. So far. Some people like breaths. I tend to like getting rid of them just because I like sort of really compressed vocals for this airy stuff. And the breaths just sort of really hit the compressors hard and gives you a bit of a weird sound. So if it's super breathy and airy for me, I really like to just get in nice and close. So you can see there, we've edited just our top track, and all our other tracks are nicely edited, fades all done, and this just to me is just saves so much time. So there we go, there's Ableton's vocal comping. Absolute game changer. I think this is brilliant. The next thing we're going to look at is the hybrid reverb, and I've had a bit of a play about with this, and it's really, really cool. You have a convolution side and algorithmic side, and you can blend between the two sections with the blend control. You may be familiar with the convolution side if you had Ableton Live Suite and you use the Convolution Pro reverb. It's got a lot of the same functionality as that, so you can check that bit out. But the more interesting bit to me is the algorithmic reverb. And we've got a bunch of algorithms here. We've got a dark hall, we've got a shimmer, which is the pitch shifted effect, like Valhalla shimmer. And we've got tides, which I think is probably the coolest one and the one I've had the most fun with so far. And it creates sort of modulation tails and stuff. So I can play a bit here and let you hear what it sounds like. We've got just the full wet reverb here. You can hear this tide bit and it's modulating things from side to side. And the other cool thing you can do with all the reverbs is freeze them. And we've got different modes. We've got off, subtle, old, older, extreme, and these seem to be the sort of bit rate that the reverb's working at, and you can get some, again, more interesting sounds. If you go right to extreme, you get a really sort of bit crush reverb. So much fun. A really good addition to Ableton. And we've got Prism. I'm not quite sure what the Prism algorithm does yet, but I'm sure we'll find more information as we get it. But again, it sounds really nice. I'll put that back. It's just a nice big dense reverb. We've got high multi and low multi, so you can get some really high breathy stuff with this. Nice smooth tails. Very, very cool reverbs. A really great addition to live, and something I'll definitely be experimenting with. We'll be doing deeper dives into all these plugins over the next few days. So we're going to look at a couple of other new devices. We're going to look at Spectral Time and Spectral Resonator, and these are based around a sort of spectral FFT based signal. And look at Spectral Time first, and this is essentially like a spectral delay. You can get some really crazy sounds out of it. Do some freezing stuff as well. So that's the sort of vibes you get out of that. Great for sort of drones and various other stuff. And then we've got the Spectral resonator, which is something akin to, I would say, like a vocoder, and along that sort of vein. You can use MIDI or internal signals to sort of do stuff. We've got decay. And we can also have a unison mode in there, which gives a bit more stereo. Another very cool thing, great for experimenting and making crazy sounds. And let's try it on vocals, because you can do some cool stuff with it on vocals. Got our vocals from earlier.
I don't know where it is you go when you go under, but a shining light for you.
And I've also got a MIDI chord pattern in here too, and you can see when I switch it to this, it transforms these into different modes.
I don't know
Sort of acts as a harmonizer almost.
where it is you go when you go under,
And that's so cool.
but a
Sounds great.
shining light for you. Where it is you go when you go under, but a shining light for you. I don't know.
Very, very cool stuff. I'm really looking forward to getting into more depth on those. The next things we've got are an upgrade to the phaser and flanger. And again, these are ones that really needed to be done. And these seem to be very much worked on, and it almost reminds me of sort of analog phasers and analog flangers you would get in guitar pedals. They've even got a warmth control here, and this kind of just gives it a bit of dirt and a bit of grit.
I don't know where it is you go when you go under, but a shining light for you. I don't know where it is you go when you.
It sounds so much better than the previous ones.
I don't know where it is you go when you go under.
And the doubler is a pretty convincing doubler as well. It works quite well. So let's just, we've got that single channel muted.
I don't know where it is you go when you go under, but a shining light for you.
When you use that quite subtly, you definitely get quite a decent double.
I don't know.
Again, effects that I will definitely be using. Most of the time I was using some of the just types of devices outside of Live, but this is great to have it all built in now. We've got chorus.
I don't know
Really nice and wide, sounds great.
where it is you go when you go under.
An ensemble, I'm guessing that's sort of reflecting something like the Roland Dimension D, that type of thing.
I don't know where it is you go when you go under.
And then we've got a vibro as well.
I don't know where it is you go when you go under.
So that's it for the brand new devices. There are some other updates. I believe Redux has had a once over. Redux is the bitrate and sample rate crusher.
I don't know where it is you go when you go under?
I've got some bit rate as well.
I don't know. Where did you go when you go under? I don't know. Where did you go when you go under?
So they definitely have a bit more sheen to them and a bit of a nicer vibe. And next we're going to take a look at some of the other features. There's a bunch of new MIDI stuff as well we can look at. Okay, so let's check out the new features in the MIDI clip view. So we've got a couple of things here we can look at. We're just going to use a drum track. We've got a kick and a snare and some hats. Previously in Live 10, you could edit multiple parts at the same time, but it was kind of hard to pick which one you were editing, and it was a tiny bit clunky. Now we've got a couple of options that helps with that. We've got focus mode, so we can see the clips individually, and we've got a bar at the top that lets us select the clips. And if we have focus mode off, we can edit both at the exact same time. So that's really handy. It sort of simplifies that process. The other thing we can do now is we have standard velocity, which has changed a bit. It's got a bit of a different graphic. And then we've also got probability, and this sort of the other thing we can do is select a velocity range. So I can select all these hi-hats, and we can now add a velocity range, and this will randomize the velocity throughout that range. Let's take it down, we'll make the range bigger. So two really cool new features there, and we have bigger buttons for everything, so everything seems to be a bit more accessible and a bit easier to understand. So that's all good news. Okay, so we're going to look at new options for folding and scale. So previously you could fold the notes down and it would just show you the notes that we're playing, and you could modify those. And a lot of people were adding the scale of their track in notes at the start, and then they could fold it down and see exactly what notes were in that scale. Now we can actually set a scale over here. So let's say C minor, and then just hit scale, and it'll just show you now all the notes in the scale, and you can add notes accordingly, and you can also still fold that down. So another super handy workflow improvement. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is the new functionality in instrument racks and effects racks. We have some really cool new options here. The first being this random control. So now we can just click a button and it will randomize the parameters we have linked up in our macros. We've also got the ability now to increase or decrease the amount of controls we can actually assign. So that goes from 8 up to 16, and you can actually go down to just a few if that's what you want. And we also have a new macro snapshot functionality, and this enables us to create and save multiple snapshots of our instrument rack. So we can basically create sort of presets inside our instrument racks now, and then very easily switch between them. And these are MIDI assignable as well, so you can trigger them live. Okay, so Ableton 11 now has full MPE compatibility with compatible synths. So one of them is wavetable, and we can now assign a bunch of parameters to the MPE control side of wavetable. And then in our MIDI clip views, we have a new tab called Note Expressions, and we can input data on a per note basis. Now, usually when you're doing automation or clip automation, you're automating the entire set of clips, and you can't actually drill down and do various things individually to notes. So this is what this enables you to do now. We can go in, click a note, and we can actually draw in parameter information directly into that note. So in this instance, I've got slide information on this C2 note, and we have in Wavetable, we have that assigned to go up an octave. And when we play it, we now have that lower C2 note able to slide up. And this can be applied to a whole bunch of different parameters inside Wavetable, filters, effects, and various other things. So there we go, there's our first look at Ableton Live 11 Beta. We'll be doing a deeper dive into a bunch of the new features and devices in the coming weeks, so stay tuned to our socials for that. I have to say, I'm really impressed with this update. Some of the features are fantastic. I really love the vocal comping and new reverb. I think it's probably their biggest and best update. They've done it in a long time, so I'm super happy, and I'll probably be using it now. It's hard to go back, so there we go. Thanks very much for watching, and if you have any questions, you can hit us up in the forum, and we'll catch you next time.